Hello everyone, and welcome to Behind the Bulletin. Today, we're uncovering a story that has fans on edge and social media buzzing late into the night. A secret meeting after midnight. Two familiar names. And a wave of unanswered questions. This is one update that no one saw coming. Midnight encounter, Ahn Eun-jin and Jang Ki-yong's secret meeting sends fans into panic. What really happened behind closed doors? And why has this moment sparked so much speculation? Stay with us as we break down the details, starting right now. It was just past midnight when the whispers began. No official announcement. No staged photographs. Just fragments, blurred sightings. Half-finished sentences. And a timestamp that refused to be ignored. In the quiet hours when most of the city slept, a rumor slipped into the public consciousness and immediately refused to leave. Ahn Eun-jin. Jang Ki-yong. Together. After midnight. That alone was enough to send shockwaves through fan communities. At first, the story surfaced cautiously. A single post hinted at a late-night meeting. Another account claimed to have seen two familiar silhouettes entering a private location. Nothing concrete. Nothing verified. And yet, the timing, the secrecy, made the rumor feel heavier than it should have. Fans reacted instantly. Screens lit up. Group chats exploded. The same questions repeated over and over. Asking them enough times might force clarity into existence. Why so late? Why so quietly? And why now? The atmosphere shifted from curiosity to unease. Both figures were known for their professionalism and discretion. Neither had ever invited unnecessary attention to their private lives. That reputation, once comforting, now intensified the tension. If this meeting were innocent, fans wondered, why did it feel so carefully hidden? Speculation grew legs. Some insisted it was work-related, a script reading, a private discussion, a project not yet announced. Others weren't convinced. The secrecy felt deliberate, they argued. Midnight meetings don't happen by accident. Not in an industry where schedules are planned weeks in advance. Rumors spread, so did fear of what it might imply. Old interviews resurfaced. Past on-screen chemistry was re-examined with fresh eyes. Moments once dismissed as professional courtesy were now dissected for subtext. Fans searched desperately for patterns, for signs they might have missed. And then came the silence. No denials. No clarifications. No friendly posts to redirect attention. The lack of response didn't calm the panic, it fueled it. Silence, in moments like these, becomes a canvas. And imagination fills it mercilessly. By dawn, the narrative had shifted. What started as a rumor had evolved into a full-blown mystery. Media outlets tread carefully, choosing words like reported, alleged, and unconfirmed. But even caution couldn't slow the momentum. The phrase midnight encounter took hold, repeating until it felt almost official. Fans were divided. Some demanded patience, warning against turning speculation into accusation. Others felt betrayed, not by any confirmed action, but by the possibility that something had been hidden from them. Panic doesn't always come from truth. Sometimes, it comes from uncertainty. And uncertainty was everywhere. As the hours turned into days, it didn't fade. It sharpened. The absence of new information became its own form of evidence in the public mind. Every social media post, or lack thereof, was scrutinized. Fans noted timing, tone, even punctuation. A neutral photo posted hours later sparked fresh debate. Was it a distraction? A message? Or completely unrelated? Nothing felt neutral anymore. Night meeting, still unconfirmed, had taken on symbolic weight. Presented more than two people potentially meeting, it represented a breach in expectation. Fans weren't reacting to facts, they were reacting to the collapse of certainty. Theories escalated. Imagine secret collaborations. Others jumped to emotional conclusions, warning that something big was about to surface. A few voices tried to inject reason, reminding everyone that private lives do not require public explanations. But reason struggles to compete with adrenaline. Panic was emotional, not logical. What unsettled fans most was not the idea of a meeting, but the idea of being excluded from the narrative. For years, both individuals had maintained a careful balance between visibility and privacy. Fans thought they understood the rules. Moment, real or imagined, suggested those rules could change without warning. That realization stung. A commentary grew more psychological. Articles began asking why fans reacted so strongly to something unconfirmed. Why secrecy felt threatening. Midnight, as a symbol, carried such power. The story was no longer about two individuals, it was about projection. And yet, the tension remained real. People waited for something, anything, to break the silence. A denial would end the panic. Confirmation would redefine everything. But neither came. Instead, the world was left suspended between possibilities. Gradually, exhaustion set in. The most frantic voices grew quiet. Because answers arrived. But because panic is difficult to sustain without fuel. What remained was unease, a lingering discomfort that something had shifted. Even if no one could say what. Some fans began to step back, recognizing how quickly speculation had overtaken compassion. Others held on to their anxiety, convinced that silence meant the truth was being delayed, not denied. In the end, the midnight encounter became something larger than itself. It became a lesson in how easily mystery turns into fear, how quickly admiration transforms into entitlement. The absence of facts can create stories more powerful than reality. Whether the meeting was professional, personal, something else entirely, one truth became impossible to ignore. Panic was never really about what happened that night. It was about the fear of not knowing, and the realization that sometimes, not knowing is all we are given. And so the story remains unresolved, suspended in the quiet hours between rumor and reality. Just like the night it began. As the frenzy cooled, something far more unsettling took its place. The panic didn't disappear, it matured. What had once been frantic speculation settled into heavy, watchful silence. Fans were no longer refreshing feeds every minute. Instead, they watched closely, quietly. The story had entered a phase where every detail felt consequential. Not because it added information, but because it failed to. The midnight encounter had become a reference point. Began to speak about it as if it were a known event, even though nothing had been confirmed. Before the meeting that night, language shifted subtly. Perception. The rumor had crossed an invisible line, transforming from possibility into assumed context. That transformation was powerful and dangerous. Online discussions grew more introspective. Fans started asking not what happened, but why it mattered so much to them. Some admitted the panic surprised them. Others confessed they felt embarrassed by how quickly they had jumped to conclusions. Yet even these moments of self-awareness couldn't fully erase the tension. Because the silence continued, clarification arrived to anchor the narrative. No denial closed the door. No confirmation opened it wider. The absence felt intentional. Tension invites interpretation. Was the quiet meant to protect privacy? To let the storm pass? Or to avoid feeding speculation that had already grown beyond control? Each possibility carried its own weight. Media coverage adjusted again, shifting from breaking news to analysis. Commentators explored the symbolism of midnight, secrecy, and how easily fans attach meaning to timing alone. People asked whether modern fandom had lost the ability to tolerate ambiguity, or whether ambiguity itself had become intolerable in a world addicted to instant answers. But theory offered little comfort. For many fans, the emotional response lingered, not as panic, but as discomfort. Sense that something once predictable had become uncertain. That the boundaries between public and private, once clearly drawn, were now blurred in ways that felt unsettling. What unsettled people most was not the idea of a relationship or collaboration. It was the idea of not being told. That realization forced a quiet reckoning. Fans began to confront an uncomfortable truth. Admiration does not grant access. Curiosity does not justify intrusion. Not every moment, no matter how intriguing, to the audience. Still, letting go proved difficult. Some fans held on to hope that a simple explanation would eventually emerge and restore balance. Others prepared themselves for the possibility that no explanation would ever come. Both responses were shaped by the same emotion, the desire for closure. Gradually, the story lost its sharp edges. Panic that once dominated conversations softened into something more subdued, anticipation without expectation. The midnight encounter no longer sparked chaos. But it hadn't faded either. It lingered like a question left unanswered, shaping how fans interpreted everything that followed. Every future update would now be filtered through that night. Perhaps that was the lasting impact. The realization that one unconfirmed moment could alter perception so completely. Mystery, once introduced, cannot be undone. That even silence, when amplified by millions of eyes, becomes a statement. In the end, the fallout wasn't explosive. It was quiet. A collective step back. A cautious recalibration of trust and boundaries. Recognition that not all stories end with revelations, some end with restraint. The midnight encounter may never be fully explained. Its echo remains, reminding everyone watching just how fragile certainty can be, and how easily imagination fills the space where answers refuse to appear. And in that space, the story rests, for now. In the end, what lingered was not proof, not confirmation, and not revelation, but uncertainty. The midnight encounter, real or rumored, became a mirror reflecting how quickly curiosity can turn into panic, and how silence can grow louder than facts. Settled fans most was not what may have happened. The realization that they might never fully know, and that knowing is not always a right. This story was never just about a late-night meeting. About expectations, boundaries, and the fragile line between admiration and entitlement. It reminded us that public figures still live private lives, and that mystery does not automatically signal wrongdoing, it sometimes signals restraint. As the noise fades, what remains is perspective. Perspective that not every story demands an ending. Perspective that silence can be a form of protection. Perspective that imagination, once ignited, create narratives more powerful than truth itself. Perhaps the most important realization of all. Sometimes the calm after panic is not resolution, but acceptance. Thank you for staying with us until the very end. Appreciate your time, your curiosity, and your willingness to look beyond rumors and reflect on the deeper emotions behind them. If this story encouraged you to pause, consider assumptions, or think more carefully about how narratives are formed, it has served its purpose. This has been Behind the Bulletin. Thank you for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you again in our next story.